to me, it kind of boils down to what's inherent in you. For me, curiosity is something that has been quite present in my life since I was a kid. More specifically, though, when it comes to seeing the world, I have to date that back to something I did when I was 23 after I graduated from college. I was a voracious reader of classical literature. I would go from like country to country, epoch to epoch. And when I got to the Russians, I was like, whoa, this literature, this history is really grabbing me. So when I graduated college, I dove in. I learned the language and I went to tour Russia and Ukraine as a 23-year-old just after the Soviet Union fell. And that is really what set me on, I'd say, a lifelong path of intrigue in the world and language. My Russian was as strong as my Spanish is now.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you just make me think, because sometimes we devalue Russia, but they are rich in history, man. I mean, you just made me have a flashback to Dostoevsky. Isn't that how you pronounce?
Dostoevsky. Yeah. I mean, look, this is the dark arts, man. And I'm into it.
Yeah. It's like, they had some ripping people and still do.
It's an everything type of culture. And there is a lot of sadness when you start talking about their history.
This is great. This helps us understand you, Jeff, like where you're coming from, because there's a passion behind you that's really, really powerful. People are helping and drawn to it, and we want to help. So we are now here understanding this man who came from Queens, went through Long Island, ended up in Cal State. What city is Cal State in, by the way?
It's in LA. It's in the San Fernando Valley.
Okay, San Fernando Valley. And then now you on a trip, you end back up in Manhattan. Definitely the Russian thing. The 30, what was it? How many countries in 8 months?
23 on that trip.
That's crazy. My goodness. I don't know anyone who has ever done so many countries in less than a year. That just blows my mind. I could be mind blown for the rest of the day right here. We are at Nicaragua now. We've got some history. I want people to understand what you have said about being in Nicaragua and taking this panoramic view when you went to visit. First of all, your trip there seems like a part of your nature to want to go discover, but you discovered something there that you said, hey, I want to lend a hand.
Interesting about Nicaragua, Gene, is I actually had an instinct before I even went. This was going to be a place where I did something deeper and different. And so I literally oriented my very first trip there, like based on that concept, like staying in places where I might want to buy. It's a very odd thing, but I think, we know ourselves, and instinct can be such a powerful tool. And I wound up being correct. My very first trip there, I was struck by a lot of different aspects of the place. And I wound up buying land and building a home. Now, at that time, though, it wasn't about, and I want to get back and do this and all that. I wasn't there yet, right? My house took basically a year to build. I wasn't in a real rush, but I just felt in my gut that this was representing a new chapter in my life before I even got on a plane to go. I mean, it's pretty strange.
Yeah, I know that feeling, Jeff. That's a really great description. It's just like something's getting ready to happen.
Right. And I can talk to some of the other forces that were present in my life to create that. I'd call them forces that happened to you in your 40s.
Right.
Reckoning of your 40s.
Yeah. I know those times, man. It's something I saw something on TikTok yesterday with this guy. I didn't save it, but he was like saying that from age 25 to like late 40s, he said, that's when it gets real hard. Like, he said, people in your life that you really care about start having health problems. He said like your parents, and then, you have some of the marriage things going on. He said, and you got big expenses from the kids,
Yep.
and he was just throwing it out there. And so, yeah, the 40s are a time of big challenge and big growth.
You got it. Big challenge and big growth.
That's right. So you went through that common time that we go through, and Nicaragua seemed to be like it was going to be a pivot point. You settled, built this property. It's in a beautiful part of Nicaragua. So now there's a conversion of, hey, this place is beautiful too. Now I'm going to start helping.
We had a couple of forces present in my life at that time, right? We have what I would call a lifelong sort of phenomenon with me, which is driven by curiosity, active curiosity. And in this sense, it's about travel, adventure, seeing the world, opening up that aperture, language. These are all really strong forces. My tech career is is mature. I'm grateful. It's been a blessing. It's fed my family. I think the substance of what I was doing began to feel like empty calories, and I'm looking for more.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty common for people, right? That are in a career, that have achieved some success, and they're getting on in their life. Then I'd say when we talk about, okay, I can see why or how this landed you in Nicaragua. You love to travel, you love to see the world. But now you had this instinct about this place before you even got there, right? I can't explain that except to say that's just your gut. I landed in Nicaragua on my first trip, and I was struck. I was struck by the earthly beauty. I was struck by the people that I got to spend time with, Nicaraguans and otherwise, during my travels there. I was struck by the difficulty of the place, which you could see with your eyes, right? As you sort of barrel around those hard dirt roads. I think that all comes together. And I say, you know what? I feel good about planting here. And I'm not a guy who ever built a house before, but I had time and I'm adventurous. And the place where I wanted to be, there were no homes. It was just land and this really cool resort that exists. So I said, all right, I'm going to work with these people that I got to know, and I felt confident that they had a good project and they had an eye on the future. And I built a home. It took 11 months. And in 2019, it was done. It really became after that, Gene, that I was like a little teeny bit settled. And I set up my house with my father for 2 weeks, that I began to really open my eyes. And it really started with one thing. It was this horrible little neighborhood. I won't call it a neighborhood. It's a collection of dwellings at the bottom of the hill that I would take to get up to my house. So you pass this anytime you get in the car and leave. And you can imagine, and I can show you the visuals, right? Dirt floors, tin roofs, multi-generational families living inside these dwellings. I'm saying this is no way for people to live. And I had heard this is basically folks that were displaced from a hurricane in the 90s. They never moved. That visual is what really got my brain moving to want to do something, contribute to my new community and give back. I think people think about Nicaragua, and especially in this country, and the associations are almost always negative. It's the second poorest country in the Western Hemisphere. It's about drugs or Sandinistas and guns and revolution in the 80s and communism, just on and on. The country is rich, Gene. It's rich in natural resources. It gets rain consistently. The soil is incredible. You can grow almost anything there. For me, it was about having my eyes open, not importing my bubble, from North America into this new place where I had a home. It was about keeping my eyes open and noticing. I did a post about this. It's like, I see the guy, working in the sun with a pickaxe all day long. And I brought him some mango juice and I hope he gets paid decently. But man, that looks like really, really hard work. And I see the woman walking with multiple bags and, sandals through mud, to get to her house. And you see, families of 5 people on one motorcycle. I took all of that in. Where do you start though?
And now, a brief message from our sponsor, 𝗛𝗲𝗄𝗄 Health. Here's one of their co-founders, Nick Manzik.
We're building 𝗛𝗲𝗄𝗄 because we care about people and their mental health. You see those stats that pop up on news. You see them on article headlines. Mental health is declining. Social media is the issue. COVID was the issue. Debt, stress. The world is becoming a little more disconnected. At least that's what we're being told. We're not trying to replace therapists. We're trying to just give people another resource to work on their mental health. If we can be part of someone's mental health journey and help them start it or dive deeper or even get to a much better place, that's our goal.
Nick, thank you so much for that description of what 𝗛𝗲𝗄𝗄 does. Again, that's 𝗛𝗲𝗄𝗄 Health at 𝗛𝗲𝗄𝗋.com. 𝗛𝗲𝗄𝗄. Now let's return to our conversation.
That's just amazing. So you figured out a way to start.
Everything starts with one small step, Gene, right? My step was have a lunch. Have a lunch with the team of the hospital. I got connected with the director of the hospital. He brought his team. We had a lunch. I introduced myself. How can I help? What are your challenges in servicing your community? You're a small hospital. And you know what, Gene? They could have presented me with a menu of challenges, right? Particularly once COVID hit, but they didn't actually. They said, I'm going to tell you one thing that is a real problem for us, and it is oral health. And once you even creep a little bit out of the center of town, you have nothing, no services, zero education on the matter, amplifying our health problems. I couldn't believe the answer because then I didn't know squat. Now I know, and I've read the data, and I've been steeped in this project for 5 years. And we have a great example of this. Just last week, we fixed this little girl's molars, 7 years old, rotten teeth, baby teeth. I used to think, so what? You're a kid, you eat too much sugar, you have terrible teeth. Well, your permanent teeth will come in, you get a fresh start. And it doesn't work that way. Poor oral hygiene at child age turns into usually problems with permanent teeth, which turn into disease. Big time diseases. I didn't know this either, but did you know that oral health is thought to be now a top marker of life longevity, up there with heart health and smoking? With these new people and this stranger from a foreign land, we co-created first of its kind mobile dentistry program in Nicaragua.
Right. And, we're going to include some of the clip that you and I did late last year. That mobile dentistry project is so cool. So cool. And the stats that are coming out now as you are tabulating all your figures, just last year, you talked about the clinics that you did. And didn't they surpass 150 clinics?
We did. We hit 150. I think we were like 141. And I said, wait a minute, I think we're going to be on pace for 150. And we wound up hitting that mark. Over 3,100 direct patients receiving treatments. But then you add on all the kids in the schools, and then you're talking 5,000-6,000 people.
This is where the nonprofit comes in. Now you got a nonprofit. Wasn't it Amanda who helped you put it together?
Yeah. January was an action-packed month for me and for 𝗛𝙗𝗪𝗧. I was there. We got to, first of all, celebrate our 3-year anniversary at the business. This is the restaurant and the plant nursery where we employ differently abled staff. Alongside that, the whole month of January, we were working furiously to set up this, what has been a 5-year private project, into a nonprofit under the umbrella of 𝗔𝙬𝗪𝗔𝙬𝗍𝗔𝙬 applications for 501c3 determination, which I think is a crap ton of work, man. We launched a new website, which brings all aspects of the work under one visual and one umbrella. We have the dental program, we have the education for the girls, and we have the business now that we've wrapped under 𝗔𝙬𝗪𝗔𝙬𝗍𝗔𝙬. That's one central place to understand all of the work. For nonprofit status from the IRS, which is now being scrutinized and gutted as we speak, it could take 7-9 months, a year, who knows? We want to get out there, chase those grants and chase those dollars.
That's smart. Very smart. So what I like about this is, what made you come up with the mindset of Sonrisas Felices is the umbrella? That's so cool. It's the mama bear.
Yes, it is the mama bear. I think it's because it's where it started, and it means happy smiles. And I don't think happy smiles are just, exclusive to, oral health and the concept of dentistry. When you look at the girls that we're sponsoring for education and you look at their pictures, they're smiling too. When you look at the staff of 𝗛𝗵𝗃 and Plantafe that have jobs and they're showing up every day and they're fulfilled, and then they leave us to go get other jobs out there in society. Well, when we take those pictures, I see smiles as well. So I thought happy smiles was sort of like, sure, you can apply that to lots of stuff.
That's so much fun. I can't wait to do a video on that part. That is so heartwarming. And you just touched briefly on 𝗛𝗵𝗃 and Plantafe and differently able. Flesh that out a little bit, because that is, like you said, it's a stepping stone for so many people. What do you mean when you say differently abled? What opportunities are being provided by this restaurant and by this plant selling type service?
Well, in the continuum of the projects that we've created that make up Sonrisas Felices, it's like we started with dentistry. I believe so strongly in education for girls, especially in places where they struggle to get it, to gain it, and to pursue a future, right? That came next. And we have now 3 girls we sponsor in college. 1 has graduated and has a great teaching job. What came a little bit later in 2022 was this business. And some people call it a micro enterprise or social enterprise. This is a partnership I have with 2 people down in San Juan del Sur in Nicaragua. And the idea was, this is not a charity. We're going to create a registered small business in Nicaragua, and we're going to give people work opportunities. But let's take it even a step further and think about differently abled people. And at the time, Gene, we didn't know what that meant. There's a young man through the education project who's deaf, who graduated with a university degree and just couldn't find work. Listening to him sort of flipped the light bulb on, because he said, I'm not the only one. There's a lot of deaf people out there, and they're just languishing at home. So we said, okay, so we wound up basically doing some outreach, and we did a focus group, and all of these young deaf adults showed up with their parents to present themselves and talk about their lives and their struggles. This sizable segment of people in the Rivas Departamento de Rivas is kind of like our county, most of whom had never worked. But since then, we've evolved into what it means, what differently abled means. We've had a guy with autism. We've had a guy part-time with Down syndrome. We have a new hire right now who is a hearing person, but he has a physical disability. This guy receives dialysis twice a week. And it's really impaired his ability to get out and have consistent work. And he's an amazing dude.
That is amazing. I've seen pictures of the cafe and the plant cafe. It's just so cool. Everybody's happy. It's a professional operation. I mean, it's just really cool. And now it's under the umbrella of Sonrisas Felices. The whole world has a chance to contribute. You're going through your nonprofit opportunity, your paperwork, your sponsor, but we, the public, we could push a button and send you funds, right?
You sure can. Over the last 5 years, through my own private network, I've created a donor base. Most of those people are known to me. Some of them have come out of the woodwork and I don't know them personally, which is amazing. But largely the project has also been self-funded. And Gene, I'm looking to get past that, not just because of me personally. It is obviously in the interest of the sustainability of this project that we have a deeper bench. We take donations on the website.
Give us the website, and I'm going to flash it up here. And I want that website. I looked at it myself, after you had posted it on LinkedIn. It was so cool with the Amanda post, and kudos to her. The website looks really good. What is the address?
It's 𝗛𝙗𝗺𝗲𝗙𝗪𝗔.org, as in Nicaragua. It's great. It's our version 1. I've got great plans for it. We'll sort of build it out to, I think, tell more of the story of the overall impact we're having, and to get some of these fantastic videos and interviews like this, Gene, accessible on the website so people can take in more of really the great media that we've done around it, particularly for the business. We have awesome videos about people visiting 𝗛𝗵𝐾𝐵 and Plant Cafe to document our delicious food, our services, and most importantly, our staff. The dental project is a little trickier, right? This is a partnership I have with the hospital. We can't just open that up to, videographers to bomb into schools to capture video. There's more nuance there.
Right. Good point. Good point. And I want to correct that. I've been saying Plant Cafe, but it's Plant Cafe, right?
I mean, let me tell you, these aren't easy. You did great. You got 𝗛𝗵𝐾𝐵 correct. A lot of people go Nika Cafe. Oh, 𝗛𝗵𝐾𝐵, which is interesting. It's 3 words smushed into one. It's Nica, Nicaragua. It's cafe, which is coffee. And it's fe, which is Spanish for faith.
Okay, man. That's pretty heavy, man. You're trying to lay it on us now.
I got to lay it on, Gene, right?
That is so cool. That is so cool. So we are in year 6. This is so cool because at the beginning of the year, you just got back from many, many weeks there, a lot of building, refining with your team. What's the future hold? You're talking about the vision. Where are we going? We've come a long way. What are you preparing for?
When I think about this question, and I think any philanthropist that would get asked this question probably has this gut reflexive, like they want to go big and tell this huge story. I try to suppress some of those reverberations because I know this place. I'm getting to learn this place. And there's only so much that you can push on a foreign place that will be sustainable, making bets that are safe and that have the opportunity to stick and grow. We could turn on the spigot and take on 10, 15 more people with life-changing scholarships quickly without barriers. Okay. So what I want to see is more resources coming in, providing more of those life-changing scholarships in the realm of education, because when you lift up one girl, that degree, it reverberates through a multi-generational family. And now we're talking about the butterfly effect. We have the ability to expand our footprint with the dental program. I've got a partnership with a wonderful, incredible NGO called Health and Health. They are a group of doctors from outside of Nicaragua that have a clinic in a very far-flung place in the northwest part of the country. And they are providing healthcare to all those remote communities that have nothing, not even a hospital or health clinic. The business is interesting. We want to hire more people, right? We want to give more opportunities for people that are struggling to find work. We have some really interesting plans on how to amplify that. But I think one, beyond just expansion, one thing that's very interesting, Gene, that I want to do with the business is I want us to be like the sort of centrifuge of excellence, kind of teaching other businesses how they can be more inclusive themselves in their business, in their kitchens. So we live as an example, but I'm talking about a practical show them a path, because right now I think it's just a lot of doors closed on people.
Right. Those are great benchmarks. I mean, you speak like a true businessman, Jeff, which you have to be to some degree to handle all these things. I mean, you got all these spinning plates. I love your answer because that's how anything meaningful just grows. It's like one step at a time. I really, truly feel that there's going to be some influx of revenue through a lot of people, because now you've got that stick-to-itiveness. Isn't that how people are? It's like when you're starting something, they're like, oh, well, I'll see how it goes. Now people can't say anything.
Yeah, we have a 5-year track record. The business is getting a little better now, not just its awareness in the country, but the finances are improving. But we do have a solid track record now to make supporters feel more comfortable. A grant situation, and you do 3-year grants, right? That we're going to be around. And that's why I talked about being careful and being really measured.
That's really excellent. And those young people who are getting the scholarships, those pictures that you post of them is just so encouraging. I can't wait to see more people contributing. And as we're seeing now in the United States, it's like, if not me, then who? And they overthink it, then nothing happens. And then what was happening can easily be pulled out at a whim.
I actually had a really strange and different conversation recently. It was just someone who was interested in the work, who is a little on the side of, wasn't happy with waves of illegal immigration in this country. Their take was actually kind of fascinating. They said, I'd be interested in supporting you for, among other reasons, besides it's good work, is you're a force on the ground at the source that's giving hope for people to actually stay in their country and build a future and have a future. And I was like, well, that sounds a little weird and opportunistic for me to kind of go out and market against.
Yeah. I already knew where you were going. I already knew where you were going with that.
Yeah, it's a different point of view, I suppose.
Yeah. I mean, he has a point, because I know I do a lot of work with immigrants and they tell me, man, if I could have stayed where I was, I'd be there, dude.
I think there was a point there. In fact, the manager, our general manager of the business, 3 kids on the brink some 2-3 years ago of making the leap to the United States. Unimaginable decision. And, now he's in something that is relatively stable and he loves it. He learned 200 signs related to the kitchen, because at the time he was just our chef. I mean, he learned 200 signs around food and kitchen and knives and all the instruments and stuff in 10 days, I think it was.
Yeah, that's impressive. That's impressive. And, it's like everybody wins.
Boy, how rare is that?
Exactly right. I commend you, Jeff, for how you're channeling this thing. You could have easily been, hey, the guy that continues to just focus on other things, but you just coalesced all these good qualities that you have. And this is really a labor that speaks to you. I'm very thankful to get to know you. I'm so glad that Martha Nino featured you last year. And then I'm like, hey, this guy's pretty cool.
There we go.
That's right. She put you on the radar of a lot of folks, even though you were already on the radar of the other people. So
the butterfly woman.
There you go. The butterfly woman. We're gonna give her shout out right now.
Absolutely. Martha's a gem. You're a big part of that, Gene. What you're doing here, man.
Season 4 of the VanRocha Podcast is sponsored by 𝗛𝗲𝗄 Health. Did you know it can take 3 to 6 months for a patient to get their first appointment with a psychiatrist or a therapist? That's a very long wait. The AI mental health chatbot by 𝗛𝗲𝗄 is available 24/7 and immediate. Why not test drive 𝗛𝗲𝗄 at 𝗛𝗲𝗄.com? That's 𝗛𝗲𝗄. See the future of AI for great mental health today. This podcast was produced by CrossGen, a division of Clever Hybrids. Thanks for watching all the way to the end, and we'll see you in the next one.